Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to the listening public, the wonderful people here in Nevis, those in St. Kitts, those in the wider Caribbean. Good evening to our friends and family in the United States and Canada, those in the United Kingdom. Wherever you are this evening, I trust and hope that you and your families are safe. This is Mark Brantley, and we're here for another edition of On the Mark, a staple here in talk radio in St. Kitts and Nevis and the wider region for the past many years. We have been here, and I'm grateful to Vaughan Radio as always for allowing me this opportunity. I believe the last time we checked, it was almost 13 years thereabouts that we have been here every Wednesday. So I think that's a level of commitment that we've had and that we continue to have. It's not always me, to be sure. Oftentimes, if I can't be here, then others would have filled in for me, and I would want to thank them as well. But I'm here this evening. We are and continue to be in the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic, and all of our resources have been dedicated to responding to this particular pandemic and to ensure that our people are safe. Many people keep asking me about politics, about what's happening with elections, what's happening with the party politics. Are we getting ready to defeat the NRP? And I say to them that the NRP appears to be campaigning. That's a matter for them. I believe that it is far more important for us at this stage as a government to demonstrate the necessary leadership in relation to keeping our people safe. Our people are concerned about jobs. Our people are concerned about food and food security. Our people are concerned about their health. And I think that that is what people elected me and my government to do, to deal with them. And so if you feel that I have not been political, that has been deliberate. As a party, the Concerned Citizens Movement has decided that the best approach right now is to focus on our people, their safety and security, and allow the politics to wait. The time for that will come. We do not feel that that time is now, while our people are still under distress. So if you're locked down, if you're in quarantine, if you're naturally feeling that your freedoms have been restricted, which they have been, we are saying this is not the time for us to be bombarding you about politics and who to vote for. Rather, this is a time for us to be seeking to give you assurances that all will be well and that we will be safe. I just want at the top of the show to start with some information that I think is critical for all of us. As you know, we have a COVID-19 task force here on the island of Nevis, headed by Dr. Judy Nisbet. Too much praise is not enough praise for the effort. In fact, at the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center right there at Long Point, they have been working in 2 shifts, 24 hours a day. I want to say that again. 2 shifts, 24 hours a day. They're there, the entire team, and they have been doing an excellent job. I believe that when all this is over, we need to find some way to say thank you to these people, because they've gone above and beyond. They have been working very closely with the COVID-19 task force on St. Kitts to ensure, of course, that whatever rules and regulations and processes and procedures are put in place, that they apply across the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We are, after all, one country. And that is why when the Prime Minister speaks, as he did tonight, and I will get to that, he would outline measures for the entire country. My role as Premier of Nevis is to support, to clarify where necessary for the people of Nevis, and obviously to say to the people of Nevis what things might be specific to the island of Nevis and what things might be impacting them. And so I start at the top of the show by indicating my thanks to Dr. Nisbet and her team. I also indicate that they have been having regular briefings, the COVID-19 briefing. It's aired, in fact, every Monday and Thursday on NTV Channel 8. And at that briefing, and I've attended a few of them, what happens is that they give reports from the various persons, such as the health side, education, agriculture, the police, as the case may be, and then they take questions from the press. This is done every Monday and Thursday, and the first one took place on the 2nd of April. That's when the first briefing took place, based on the note that I have. And this is happening every week. And as I said, it is widely broadcast on social media and on channel Nevis TV, Channel 8. The Nevis Health app, as we know, is SK. I'm sorry, is it SK? Forgive me, I have it written down. Let me try and find it. Please bear with me. KN, forgive me. KN.UNHIN.org. kn.unhin.org, and I'm told that that is now available for Android devices. And so we're asking again people here to download this app, put in your information. It's very basic information, and they track your symptoms. It is a useful tool that again demonstrates the innovation of the authorities here in Nevis in relation to giving you something that is handheld, something that you can put in your information. Do you have a fever? Do you have a headache? Do you have a sore throat? Have you lost taste and smell and those kinds of things? And then that goes directly to our health professionals, and they can then contact you in a seamless way. Information is confidential and it is free, and they can then contact you. If, of course, I did it and I said I am in good health, no symptoms, therefore I'm okay. If that were to change, then I would put in those changes, and so every day you can monitor where you are. If you have a headache tonight, you put in headache. Tomorrow you get up, you're fine. You're putting that as well. So that's the app, and I think it's a really innovative tool developed here with the health authorities and the IT folks here in Nevis, and of course with some outside partners as well. The idea is to allow you to use technology to monitor your own health and send information in a free, confidential, and seamless way to our health authorities. As of today, we have 76 persons who are quarantined on the island of Nevis, 76. We have tested 74 persons. Our test ratio is still quite high. We have had 53 negative results. We have had 4 positive results, and we have 17 pending tests. Now, the public may notice that the number of pending tests tends to vacillate. It goes up and down. That is because we continue to test. And so just yesterday or the day before, I can't recall, when I had my daily briefing with Dr. Nisbet, I said to her, where are we? And she said that we had, I think, only 12 outstanding tests. Since that, we have tested more persons because we continue a very rigorous program of testing. And so that is one of the hallmarks, I think, that has identified what we're doing here. We're very rigorous in terms of testing. So far, 74 persons tested on Nevis. Of those, 53 are negative, 4 are positive. We are waiting 17 tests that are pending. We hope to get most of those back this week. And we've had 127 persons thus far released from quarantine and therefore given an all clear. The Cuban medical brigade that arrived, as we all know, 6 of those persons are assigned to Nevis, 1 doctor and epidemiologist, and 5 specialist nurses. I'm advised that the epidemiologist, the doctor, she has joined the EOC today, and that the nurses will receive their orientation at the hospital tomorrow. We want again, I've done it before, I do it again, thank the government and people of Cuba for coming to our assistance. Indeed, not just us, they've come to the assistance of countries around the world, as far as Italy. So not only here in the Caribbean, but elsewhere, to provide their assistance in relation to this COVID-19 pandemic, even while they themselves are suffering. And I think that that speaks volumes to the spirit of and generosity of the Cuban people, that they have offered this to us. And so we thank them, we welcome our Cuban brothers and sisters, and the epidemiologist, the doctor, she will be part of our EOC as of tomorrow. Today, I'm sorry, today, she joined today, and the nurses will receive their orientation at the hospital tomorrow. Again, we have thankfully, because of the hard work done by our health professionals, because of early intervention and the decisions, difficult as they were, taken by the government, we have not seen a spike in terms of COVID-19. We have seen a gradual numbers, but nothing near where we have seen the contagion that we have seen in other countries. And as a consequence, the Cuban medical brigade that was brought really because we said in the event that there was a spike, we would need additional medical personnel to help. As it turns out, we have not yet experienced that spike. I'm praying and hoping that if we continue to do what we're supposed to do, if we continue to be responsible citizens, we will never get to that spike. And St. Kitts and Nevis may now be seeing a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel. And so it is now up to us, and I will get to that a bit later. In terms of further updates from the island of Nevis, today the good folks at the disaster preparedness, they donated 6 handheld VHF radios and 2 base stations to the Alexandra Hospital. One base station is placed in the outpatient department and the other in the ambulance that is dedicated to COVID-19 response. These were tested and are fully functional. They were acquired under the Japan International Systems project. And so I think that that is important, because what we're trying to do is to boost our capacity to communicate both at Alexandra Hospital and with our ambulances, particularly the ambulance that has been earmarked for COVID-19. Let me just, therefore, that is the update, if you will, from health so far as Nevis is concerned. I should just add that as I continue to do my very best to lead the island in a very difficult period of time, we have decided that we will add a new program here on Von Radio each Sunday, starting at 4 p.m. until 5:30 p.m. And so I will come each Sunday, God willing, during this crisis at 4 p.m. until 5:30 p.m. every Sunday here at Von Radio in a new program designed really to bring you more information, to clarify. Because what I have found is that our people have more questions sometimes than answers. And so to continue the process of repetition and assuring and giving people information, we have decided that on the mark is not enough. My briefings and the briefings from the COVID-19 task force may not be enough. And so I will come on Sunday from 4 to 5:30, because so many have been asking for additional opportunities to get information. And so we will make that a fixture. I've done it twice already. It was not planned. It was more or less something done sort of on the spur of the moment to bring information. But now we have formalized it, and I will be coming on Sundays at Von Radio from 4 p.m. until 5:30 p.m. to take questions. But let me emphasize, only while this crisis lasts. And that is the idea, to update and inform using that particular medium. Now, to the Prime Minister. The Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Harris, would have addressed the nation just maybe about 2 hours ago. I think he came on around 6 p.m. And he spoke, I think, clearly and in a very plain way. But I have been bombarded with questions since he spoke. And I think that that is now the norm. That persons either don't hear, they're not listening, they're not paying attention, they're busy doing something else, and then they want, if you will, some explanation of what has been said. I just want to emphasize that constitutionally, the state of emergency can only last for 21 days. Thereafter, it has to have the sanction of Parliament. That is, Parliament is the only entity or body that can prolong a state of emergency beyond the 21 days. This Saturday, this coming Saturday, will mark 21 days since we had the announcement of a state of emergency by His Excellency, the Governor General. And so the Prime Minister announced today that we will have to go to the Parliament on Friday in an emergency session in order to pass a resolution to extend the state of emergency beyond the 21 days. I think that everybody is agreed, all the technical people are agreed, that we will need to continue the path on which we are on in order to ensure that we contain and hopefully emerge on the other side of this crisis. We do not want any contagion. We do not want any widespread of this disease here. So far, with the grace of God and the actions taken by our health professionals and our government, we have been able thus far to contain, because even though we now have, I believe it is 14 cases, 10 on St. Kitts and 4 Nevis, none of those people are hospitalized. Speaking for the 4 Nevis, with whom I'm familiar, I can say that they are all in excellent health, and we are now simply waiting to do the testing that we hope will give them the all clear so that they can be treated as having been recovered and put in that category of persons. But they're in good health. I have checked in certainly from time to time, and that is the report that I've had, that they are in excellent health. Nobody is currently hospitalized, and that I think is significant that we bear in mind, that nobody is hospitalized. And so a lot of the burden that we've seen in other countries, we have been spared that thus far. And that is in part due to the measures that have been imposed, the social distancing, the stay-at-home orders, the curfews, the lockdowns. I know that it is painful. I know that it is difficult. But the results now are starting to show that it is that ultimately prevents the spread of this virus and this disease. And if we can get past this, it would mean that as a nation, as an island, as a country, we would have done it together. And I made a statement recently, a word of encouragement, where I said that we are all in this together. This virus is no respecter of persons. It is no respecter of wealth or status or class or position or religion or profession. It is something that can impact all of us. Prince Charles, the royal family in the UK, contracted COVID. Boris Johnson, the Honourable Prime Minister of the UK, contracted COVID. It is a respecter of no one. Prime Minister Trudeau in Canada, his wife, contracted COVID. And so all that we can do is to work together. And that is why I say we're in this together. Not everybody is in the same position. Not everybody is in the same place. I have had, believe me, as Premier of Nevis, my phone does not stop ringing. And so I've had the reports of persons who can't buy food, persons who are having difficulty with one thing or the other. And I've tried to be there to do the best that I can. And my colleagues as well have tried to be there to do the best that they can. It's not everything we go and we publicize, but it is important that persons understand that we have been working, we have been providing the leadership, and we have been trying to resolve issues for our people to ensure that our people during this phase understand that we are all in this together. And now more than ever, it is that togetherness and oneness of purpose which will see us come out on the other side. And so what did the Prime Minister say? The current state of emergency legally ends on Saturday. And that is why we have to go to the Parliament on Friday in order to extend it. Of course, the current 24-hour lockdown, the longest period of lockdown that we've had, ends tomorrow morning. And so tomorrow morning, Thursday and Friday, persons will be allowed to shop. But I want people to listen to me very carefully. Please listen to me carefully, because people like to say they didn't know, they didn't hear. I want you to listen to me carefully. On Friday, we'll go to the Parliament to extend the state of emergency. That's a technical matter. Now to the bread and butter. What is going to happen tomorrow here on the island of Nevis? On Thursday, the island is still divided into two zones. Zone 3 is St. Paul's, St. Thomas's, and St. James. Those three parishes. St. Paul's, St. Thomas's, and St. James. Those three parishes are Zone 3. You will be allowed to shop tomorrow, Thursday. Between the hours, based on what I've gathered, the hours of 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. So we have extended the shopping time for a bit, because I think it was 7 to 3, the last occasion, it was 7 to 5. And the people then who can go out on Nevis tomorrow to shop will be the good people of St. Paul's, the people of St. Thomas's, and the people of St. James. That is Zone 3. Now, this is important. The people who are not from St. Paul's, St. Thomas's, and St. James, stay home. You don't like the proper English, stay home? Top home. Because this does not apply to you. So you not got no reason to be out on the road. If you're from St. John's and St. George, wait your turn. This is not your turn. Tomorrow is for the people of St. Paul's, St. Thomas's, and St. James, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. to go and do what they need to do. The rest of you stay at home, top home. That is what has been said. Now on Friday, Zone 4, comprising the parishes of St. John's and St. George, you are allowed to go and do what you need to do between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. On Friday, Charlestown, St. Paul's people, Jessup, Cotton Ground, St. Thomas's people, St. James, Westbury, not Westbury, what am I saying? Brick Hill, Butlers, Fountain people, top home. Friday is not your time. You done had your turn Thursday. Now, I want to say it again because I want any confusion. Thursday, tomorrow, it is time for Zone 3. Who's in Zone 3? St. Paul's, St. Thomas's, St. James. You are allowed to move about to do your shopping and other essential, and I want to emphasize that word, essential tasks. Don't get in your car to come in Tonga Lime. That is not essential. If you don't have nothing to do, stay home. You are allowed to come and do your shopping, etc., replenish between the hours of 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. On Friday, well, don't get to Friday yet. Let me stick with Thursday, tomorrow. Zone 3, St. Paul's, St. Thomas's, St. James. You're allowed to come out and shop. You're allowed to come out and do what you need to do, which is essential. The rest of Nevis, tap home. You are not allowed to come. On Friday, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 5 p.m., the rest of Nevis now, being Zone 4, St. John's and St. George, you are allowed to come out and do what you need to do. Zone 3, St. Paul's, St. Thomas, and St. James, tap home. Friday, you done had your chance. So your turn now to stay home. Now, the curfew that we've had, which runs from 7 p.m. at night, 7 at night, until 5 a.m. the next morning, that curfew will continue. So put differently, tomorrow, Thursday, people are allowed to go out and shop from Zone 3, and again Zone 3. I know I'm being repetitious, but please bear with me. Zone 3, St. Paul, St. Thomas, and St. James. So St. Paul's people, St. Thomas people, St. James people, you can go out tomorrow between the hours of 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. to shop and do other things that are essential. I emphasize that, because if you don't have nothing to do, tap home. Now, make sure that by 7 p.m. you are in your house, because the curfew then starts, and if you're found out after 7 p.m. the police will have to deal with you. Now, come Friday, start at 7 a.m. until 5 p.m. the people of St. John and St. George have their turn to go out and shop, do essentials, and again I emphasize essential. If you're from Church Ground, you're from Brownhill, you're from Bath Village, and you're from Henley Park and Zion, and you have nothing to do, tap home. But we are saying that it is your turn to go shopping and do essential things between the hours of 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. Come 7 p.m. Friday night, you have to be home, because the curfew starts then again. Now, what is likely to happen is that we're going to go again on 24-hour lockdown as of Friday night. The Prime Minister has made that clear. So what is likely to happen is that Friday night, we're going to go on 24-hour lockdown. So you're locked down Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. That is, nobody moving except essential workers. Friday night, 7 p.m. until all the Saturday night, all the Sunday night. And then the Prime Minister is suggesting that on Monday morning at 5 a.m., we again have a relaxation. So Monday and Tuesday of next week, we are hoping to relax a bit and to allow people again an opportunity to shop, to do essentials. On Wednesday, we go back to a lockdown for 24 hours. And then on Thursday, I'm advised that we start again to look at loosening, and certainly on the weekend we would expect a 24-hour lockdown. Now, we are still some way away from that. So I am not even getting into that as much tonight. I want to focus on what's happening tomorrow, Friday, and the weekend. So tomorrow, Zone 3 in Nevis, Zone 3 in Nevis, St. Paul's, St. Thomas's, St. James, you are allowed to go out and shop and do essential things. Non-essential things, please stay at home. While you're out and about tomorrow, the rest of Nevis is required to stay at home. Tomorrow is not your turn. Now, on Friday, the rest of Nevis, being the parishes of St. John's and St. George, Zone 4, you will be allowed to go out between the hours of 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. again for shopping and essential things. If it's not essential, stay at home. While you're out on Friday, the good people from St. Paul's, St. Thomas's, and St. James, who already had their chance Thursday, will not be allowed to move around. And then on Friday, at 7 p.m., the 24-hour lockdown goes into effect again, until Monday of next week, at which point we anticipate getting some relief. Now, the Prime Minister also said something I thought was very important. And that thing he said is that based on the advice that we're getting from the experts in health, both in Nevis and on St. Kitts, it's that we are feeling that we might be seeing a glimmer. Now I want to be very careful with my language. A glimmer of light. You know what they call a glimpse? You're not so sure, but you think you see something at the end of a dark, dark, long tunnel. I'm putting it that way because it will be foolish of us to be cocky, arrogant, or overambitious in relation to this COVID-19 pandemic. Just a few days ago, I read something which says that in China, where it is said that they started in a city called Wuhan, that they were claiming that they could reopen because they had beaten this. And they say now they're seeing a reinfection. And the WHO, I think it was today, put out something indicating that they are concerned that if you reopen too early, you may undo the gains that you would have made and start seeing a reinfection, if you will, a second wave of COVID-19. And certainly we are trying to avoid that. And so we are moving with deliberate speed, but with caution, and as we always do, with the best advice that is available. And I think the Prime Minister tried to make that clear, that we, just like you don't like to be locked up at home, I don't like to be locked up at home. Everybody has been in this together. So the government official, just like you, would like to go back to a sense of normalcy. We would like our ports to be open and people to be moving again and our lives to resume. We'd like to look back on this period and say that was a bad, bad period in our history and put it behind us. But we have to be sensible. And so what we're saying is that we are trying, based on the advice, to see, and see the words I'm using now, we are trying to see how we can gradually start to reopen. But it is too early yet to make that kind of determination. Now people may ask, well, what will it require? And here's my answer. It will require you. It will require you. All of you who are listening, watching, it will require you. Because if you are responsible and you do the things that you're being asked to do, we get to that time much quicker. So if you want normalcy, you want to be able to go back on the beach, you want to be able to go back on Lime on a weekend with your friends, be responsible now and allow us to get to that time much sooner. That is important. Why? Because we are still saying to our people, if you're going to go out, those going shopping tomorrow from Zone 3, wear a mask. When you get to the supermarket or wherever you're going, maintain social distancing. If you cough or sneeze, cough into your elbow. Every chance you get, wash your hands with soap and water. Don't touch your face. Try your best, if you don't have soap and water, use some hand sanitizer. We are asking our people to continue to do the things that we have been asking them to do. And if you are responsible in your behavior, if you continue to take this thing seriously, because it is a serious matter, I think that we get to the point where all of us want to get a lot sooner. So when I say that the future of this country is in your hands, more so now than ever, it is true. That it is in your hands to do the necessary, and the word that I've continued to use is responsible. You have to be responsible. The rum drinking and the Guinness drinking and the gathering can wait. Be responsible. Some of the things that you want to go on Lime and go by your friend and go and check your girl, those things can wait, because we do not want contagion to become something that we have to deal with. All the studies have shown, all the experiences have shown that most countries have been unable to cope with that level of contagion. Look at Italy. Look at the United Kingdom. Look at Spain. Look at the great United States of America. And you get the news. So you know I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. Our only hope is to hold COVID at bay. And since we have had 14 cases, but none are hospitalized, none are showing any serious symptoms based on what I'm told, then I believe that we have a golden opportunity here to kick this thing early. But we will only be able to do it if our people continue to be responsible. And don't be shy, you know. If you go to the supermarket and anybody come jam upon you, tell them move. Get back. Don't jam upon you. If somebody come and want to talk up to you and they're not wearing a mask, remind them they should be wearing a mask. I'm asking you to do these things because some people are already cussing the government, say the government got them locked down. Well, yes, the government made the necessary lockdown directives based on the advice of our technical people and our health and professional people in order to keep us safe. But equally, the government would want to return to normalcy. You think I don't want to go and campaign to win the seats in Nevis? I want to campaign. The big blue machine sitting on in the shop now, everything ready, fresh coat of paint. We want to rumble. But we are saying that we can't rumble because we have this thing in our midst that we must deal with first. So if you want election, be responsible and you get election. You want to go online? Be responsible when you get to go online. You want to enjoy yourself again? Be responsible. You want to go check your girl across the street? Be responsible when you get to do that again. I keep saying about people checking girl. Let me put it the other way. If the girl wants to go and check the guy across the street, be responsible. I want to make sure everybody's included. The reality is that this now is in our hands. And the government can only preach and talk, but ultimately it is up to you. And don't be shy about it. Be vocal about it, because the people out there who are irresponsible will keep you locked down in your house longer. I remind people that when we started out with a state of emergency, we had a partial curfew. We went from 7 at night to 5 in the morning. It is because our people were not paying attention and were disregarding the directives. People were on the beach having beachnik party. That is why we went to the 24-hour lockdown, you know. That is why we went to 24-hour lockdown, because our people would not listen. We were stiff-necked people. I am hopeful that this 24-hour lockdown that people have been at has now taught us that, listen, let us do what we need to do to get out of jail. To get out of jail, you need what? Good behavior. Let us demonstrate good behavior, responsible behavior. I don't want people to think that I'm demeaning anyone by speaking in this way. But I'm trying to convey the message that the quicker we can get out of this thing, or let me put it differently, we get out of this thing most quickly when our people are fully engaged and cooperating. So like I tell you, if tomorrow people from St. Paul's, St. Thomas and St. James, you go by the bank, you go by the shop, and people crowding you, tell them back off. Do it respectfully, but tell them back off. Remind everybody 6 feet or more apart, social distancing. That is important. So let us continue, ladies and gentlemen, to try and work together. So that, in a nutshell, is what the Prime Minister said. He made one other important point, and that is that schools will not reopen on April 18th, I think was the date. Schools will not reopen on that date. And I believe that our education officials have been working around the clock to try and ensure that our students, our teachers, our parents, that they're not disadvantaged. And so you'll be hearing much more about that as we go. And so that is the position. Now I wanted to make a few other announcements. As we try to control shopping, people have been complaining about the lines. People have been saying the lines are long, the sun is hot. We understand that. Some of the supermarkets are stepping up. Best Buy supermarket, I'm very proud of them. They have had some discussions with our COVID-19 task force, and they are now offering a delivery service. Persons should take advantage of this service to avoid lines. When you contact them, find out what the cost is. They have different costs for different parts of the island. But if you WhatsApp, and listen carefully, if you WhatsApp your grocery list by 1 p.m., then by the next day, they will deliver it to you. So, the people of Zone 3, St. Paul's, St. Thomas's, and St. James, it's too late for you to use this today, tonight. This was announced, so some people might have already ordered. But if you have not ordered, then you can't use that tonight. But the people of Zone 4, St. John's and St. George, if you can get your list, your grocery list, to Best Buy by 1 p.m. tomorrow, they are saying they will deliver it for you on Friday. So you wouldn't even have to come out your house to go to groceries. The number to WhatsApp your list to is 667-2378. 667-2378. So you send a WhatsApp, you say, I want flour, sugar, rice, 2 packs of Cricks, some pig snout, some chicken legs, some back and neck, whatever it is you want. And they will fill that for you and deliver it by Friday. Okay? Get it to them by 1 p.m., 667-2378. Or you can email them at nevorders at costpro.com. nevorders, nevorders at costpro.com. So I think that is an important initiative, and I wanted to give a plug for Best Buy. They've done excellently in stepping up, and I'm hopeful that Rams and Value Mart and the others step up as well, because this is a useful service. And I'm hopeful further that once COVID is over, they continue this service, because a lot of people would prefer if they can have groceries delivered. So the opportunity for a few youngsters to get a little job, maybe doing deliveries, whatever it may be. But I think that this is a good initiative, and I'm hopeful that it continues. Now, one other important initiative, and that has to do with food security and our farmers and fishers. I would want to thank again the Prime Minister. I think that many in the cabinet have been advocating very heavily for this. I have a good friend, I won't call his name. He called me the other day and cussed me off, say we're not looking after the farmers enough. Well, farmers and fishers can now go from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can do that tomorrow, Thursday. You can do it again on Friday. You can do it again next week, Monday. You cannot do it during the 24-hour lockdown. What we are saying to you, that during the 24-hour lockdown, that you will allow to go on your farms as the Commissioner of Police might permit. And in Nevis, we are using the Department of Agriculture to get the necessary passes for farmers and fishers to go about their business. We in Nevis are saying that farmers and fishers should be treated as essential workers, and we are therefore making the necessary representations. I am happy that the federal government has also seen that, because I know there was strong representation at the federal level to say that on the limited curfew days, the farmers and fishers will be able to move around between 6 a.m. and 4 p.m. I believe that applies really and truly more to the farmers, because fishermen would be on the ocean long before 6 a.m. But just to give you a sense, if you come in with your catch between 6 a.m. and 4 p.m., you're allowed to move about on those days. And then when we come to the 24-hour lockdown, what we're doing on Nevis, specifying Nevis, is that through the Department of Agriculture, we are liaising with the Commissioner of Police to ensure that we have the necessary exemptions so that you can move about. We are very serious about food security. As you know, the Nevis Island Administration jumped out very early talking about food security. We are plowing land for people for free. We are providing free seeds, free fertilizer. We are providing free seedlings. We are providing some labor support. We are doing what we can, and we are fast-tracking our farming operations. We see some youngsters getting into, for example, what we call greenhouse, shade houses. We call them hydroponic farms in some cases, where they're using technology. We are fast-tracking all of that. We're encouraging people to plant more food. fact, we've gone further. We've offered fish pot wire to fishermen. First roll free. Second roll, we're saying at 50% off for the next 3 months. We've offered free water to farmers for the next 6 months. We are doing all that we can to promote more agriculture and more farming, because this COVID-19 has taught us that we cannot depend on Miami for our food. We have to go back and start to feed ourselves again. Let Miami send us things that we can't get here, the grapes and the, what else? The pears and things like that that people like to buy, the fancy fruits. But when it comes to our meat, our poultry, our, let me not use word like poultry, chicken, our beef, our pork, our mutton, these are things that we feel we should do better at locally. When it comes to our local root vegetables, our local crops, I want to big up my friends up there in Rollins. They're doing good job, good work. The government has been there for them, and they don't need the government now. They're producing. On the big up people like Mackie Truss with A1 Farms. In fact, if I start to call tonight, I'm going to call so many. So let me just big up all the farmers. They have really been doing an excellent job. And the government now is more than ever going to be redirecting resources to agriculture. We can feed ourselves, and if we do it right, we can also think about feeding our neighboring islands as well. Nevis can once again become a breadbasket for others. Let us work on it, and let us get to that position. And I have every confidence that the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, as Minister of Agriculture, he has an excellent team. Huey Sargent and young Randy Elliott, and they've been doing good work with the rest of their team in bringing agriculture to a point where it again is taking pride of place. We as an island must learn the lessons of COVID-19, and we must learn those lessons, take them to heart, and one of the things is food security. I am proud of the response of my government, because early o'clock we jumped on this, and we saw that that was a critical thing. And food that was put in the ground 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, we specified, we said we want crops that are quick producing crops. Let us emphasize those. And I'm happy that we are making the necessary provisions, and we're doing the very best that we can. So, we spoke about a gradual reopening. We will get there as we go. And we, again, are saying to you, the public, that the government wants to reopen, but it depends on you and how you take this and how responsible you are in continuing to do the social distancing, to stay at home, to wear a mask if you have to go out in public, continue to wash your hands and do the important things. Let us help protect each other. I've already announced that each Sunday going forward, during this particular difficult period for us, we will have a briefing. I will come at 4 o'clock, 4 p.m., and we'll be here for an hour and a half on Von Radio, bringing information and taking calls as well to clarify, because I recognize that our people sometimes say that they need additional information. It is 9:15. I'm going to open the lines now and see if anybody wants to talk to me. I'll try my best to clarify and to give information, but if you have questions or you have comments or suggestions, then those are also welcome. The numbers to call are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call, and let's go straight to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Honorable Mark.
Good evening to you.
Doing?
I am well. How are you doing?
Your voice is tall on the radio, but thank God that everybody's all right. And your family is okay too?
Everybody's okay, thank you. How are you?
You want to look at the boyfriend up there, me a good boyfriend up there, so now you talk about boyfriend and girlfriend, you know. You
Yeah,
don't want for me.
Everybody locked down now,
Yeah.
so if your sheep ain't pennying yet, you can't penny in again.
Okay, all right, and take care, yellow and France summary.
Okay, I will do that.
Everybody, your wife too.
All right, my
Love
dear.
you.
Take care. Love you too. Let's stick with the phones. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Hi, good evening, Mark. How are you?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a concerned citizen. I'm calling just to find out with the zoning how the police will look after that, because I've realized that last week when it was a time for St. John's and St. George's, we had people from in St. James coming to shop. So how will the police deal with that situation? I'll listen off here.
Okay, thank you very much. You know I've been using a word responsible all night. I'm asking our people to be responsible. Because if our people are responsible and pay attention to the rules, then the police don't have to come into play. But if our people refuse to be responsible and seek to break the rules, then the police will have to come into play. What have we been doing in Nevis? We have asked the police, the security forces, to manage the situation, even to the point of managing the lines for us at the supermarkets to make sure that people are doing what they need to do, that they are staying apart at least 6 feet, practicing social distancing, wearing their masks, etc., etc. That is what we are seeking to do. So in terms of the police will be out. I think that thus far they've done a commendable job, and they will be out seeking to enforce the provisions. My appeal as the Premier of Nevis, forget about the Premier of Nevis, as a Nevisian, as a citizen of this country, my appeal to my fellow citizens and residents of this beautiful island, if you're not from St. Paul's, St. Thomas's or St. James, tomorrow, please stay home. Stay home. Tomorrow is not your day. Wait your turn. On Friday, the people of St. John's and St. George will have their turn. And on Friday, the people of St. Paul, St. Thomas's, and St. James, tap home. You had your turn already. That to me is easy to understand. I have said it, I've tried in proper English. I have said it using our colloquialism. If you don't like stay at home, then tap home. You understand both, I'm sure. The idea is that we shouldn't be dependent on the police when we know what we're supposed to do. And that is why I'm passionate about it, because our people know what they're supposed to do. So do what you're supposed to do. Tomorrow, it is for Zone 3 to shop. If you don't live in St. Paul's, St. Thomas's, or St. James, stay home. Friday, it is the turn of Zone 4 to shop. If you don't live in St. John or St. George, stay home. And I believe that that is plain. Anybody needs any further clarification, I will say it 100 times tonight if I have to. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Blessed evening, my beloved brother. How are you and how are the people of Nevis?
We're doing well, and more importantly, how are you? Because I know you're in a hot spot there in New York.
Brother, I'm here, man. I'm just staying, safe and staying strong and focused because, brother, this town is like a ghost town, brother. If I go to work, man, in Manhattan, brother, you scarcely could see anyone, that's including police officers. But they just got to just stay strong and stay focused, stay home as much as possible. But when you go to buy anything, you make sure buy what you need so you don't have to go out, beloved brother. But let me say, and let me commend the Nevis Island administration and the federal administration. Brother, this administration are doing an excellent job. But some of our people, especially some of our young brothers, are not getting it. The party gonna come again, young brothers. The party gonna come. What, you want a party in this climate? But I am not for nobody brutalizing anybody. But sometimes, man, you got to use drastic measures. Make sure people realize, listen, you're not just giving your life at stake. You could endanger people's lives too. But you want to party now? Stay home. You're not an essential worker. Stay home. It will do you good, your family, and the entire federation. So for everything being good, but some people, man, but I don't know. But the police and the defense force, they got to use whatever means necessary. beloved brother. Like I say, I'm not for nothing beating up nobody, but brother, you got to rough up, and let me say, rough up for people to get it, man, to protect lives, brother. So it must be done, beloved brother. God, you want to tell me with all this information on a daily basis, people, what? You so ignorant, man? Come on, and you don't care? No, brother. The authorities dispense the information, you get it, and you still go, man, you're on your own, and what they do to you? Well, so be it, beloved brother, but we must protect our people. It's only, 50 to 55,000 maximum in a thing that the entire population could be wiped out. We don't want that. So come on, young brothers, man, have some common sense. Those of you who are to go down that road, come on, man, straighten up yourself, have respect for life, beloved.
All
So
right.
my brother, that's how our people continue and get rid of this virus, my beloved brother. Again, let me commend you and the federal government, man. Excellent job so far, my beloved brother, but must continue to do the right thing and heed to what the authorities are saying. My beloved brother, I know someone else want to speak. So my beloved people, Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, stay strong, stay focused, stay safe, and listen to the authorities. My beloved brother, talk to you next week. Pan-Africanism will perish. One love, my beloved brother, my people. Stay strong, do the right thing, man. It's gonna be over, and everything gonna go back to normal. But we must continue to do the right thing. Thanks again for hearing me, my beloved brother. One love.
All right, good. I just got a note here from my brother Burl Jones. Burl has asked me to say good evening to his wife Talisa. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And also good night to his pops, Mr. Jones. He said they're there listening, and so good night to them. They're in the United States. Burl, stay strong, brother. You and pops as well. Make sure he's safe. You know, they say older people tend to be a little bit more vulnerable, so make sure he's good. Just to be clear, because people are sending me messages, the lockdown, 24 lockdown, will ease tomorrow at 5 a.m. The shopping is 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then at 7 p.m. we lock down again, but only until 5 a.m. Friday morning. Then we reopen again, we lock down again 7 p.m. Friday, and we stay locked down until Monday morning. So that Friday is another 24-hour lockdown. That is no movement except for essential workers. Someone sent me a useful note as well, just a reminder for those who may want to go to shop tomorrow, and again, only Zone 3 tomorrow. Only Zone 3 tomorrow. The rest of Nevis, stay at home. For those who are going to shop and taking the buses, the bus drivers, make sure you're wearing a mask. You insist that the people also wear masks, commuters, and that they sit at points apart, that they're not sitting down one on top of each other. That is important, that you must maintain the necessary distancing. We're all in this together. We must look out for each other. There's somebody on the line. Let me go back. Good evening.
Mark, good evening, sir.
You're on the mark.
Good. What about utilities? Can I pay my water and electricity bill tomorrow?
We are making some arrangements, certainly, for electricity. I believe that some notices should have gone out from NEVLEC that the electricity will be open. I have not seen anything yet for water, but I know that electricity will be open. Inland Revenue will be open. And I believe that the Financial Services Registry, because some people have been agitating in that regard as well, that they will be open. Water Department, I assume, will open at some point. We'll keep people advised in relation to that. But thank you, caller. I know people are anxious to pay their bills, and the government really needs the revenue as well. So I appreciate that call. But again, as the Prime Minister explained, it's a gradual process. It's a gradual process, and we all want to get back to normalcy, but we're depending on our people now to exercise the necessary discipline and the responsibility to allow us to get there. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good evening.
Good evening, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello. I am calling just to congratulate Mr. Mark Bruntley on the good work that he's doing. And I see that he's pleading with the people of Nevis to stay home. But I just wanted to say, hello?
Yes, we're listening to you. Go ahead.
But I just want to say, where I live here, that we are on another 2 weeks of total lockdown. We have no buses, no ferry, no plane, no boats, no nothing. And if people break the curfew, they are prosecuted. So maybe that would be a deterrent for people to stay home. And we do have special days to go to the grocery and pharmacy.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing your experience. And clearly, we know that experiences vary from country to country. They vary based on circumstances. I don't expect, for example, what is happening in New York with what they're dealing with, or in London, that we need to respond quite in the same way. But they're useful lessons to be learned. And those lessons are that we must continue to be disciplined and responsible in our own actions.
And to whom am I speaking?
This is Mark Brantley.
Okay. This is Mrs. Rita Harris Woolridge, and I'm calling from Bermuda. But I just want to say, because we're a small country, just like Nevis, people must pay attention.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and please continue to stay safe in Bermuda.
Thank you so much for listening.
All right. God bless. Okay, we're taking your calls. Let's go back to the phones. We've lost that caller. Callers, please bear with us. The numbers to call are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. I'm trying to take your calls to answer your questions.
Mike, good evening.
Yes.
At the briefing, I've certainly, actually, I hear them say that they're going to be testing in the line the temperatures, and if you're over certain temperatures, they wouldn't be allowed in the supermarket. So I just wanted to clarify that. And also, a person like me who like to go to the market, I realize that a number of persons now are saying that they're asking when we're going to get a low the prices them in the market, when they will be lowered, because they're gone sky high since the corona disease. And there is good news for the Nevision living in UK. I've talked to about 12 of them on an average day, and they are proud of what the federal and the local government is doing here to combat the corona, and they give us high praise. Many of them would have glad if they was here on the island.
Mm-hmm.
But really, they have given the government of Nevis and the Federation tremendous mark, over 100% mark of what they are doing to keep their people safe.
Okay.
So, Mark, you guys are doing a good job, but persons still wanted to know when the prices at the market and at the stores will be lowered. And, Mark, I just wanted to remind people, I guess you'll have to get some clarification about the testing in the line of temperatures, and if you're over a certain temperature, they wouldn't be allowed in the various supermarkets.
All right. Okay. So I want to make it clear that the Prime Minister said that we may get to that point. We may get to the point where people would have to be tested at the door, in the line, or whatever, not only at the supermarket, but at other businesses as well. We are not there yet. So, Carl, I don't want you to confuse the two issues. He was predicting and saying, as he talked about the possibility of reopening, he was saying what we might have to do. So there's no taking of temperature yet. If you have a temperature, then obviously we are asking you to stay at home and contact any of the numbers that we have put out. 311 comes readily to mind. There's also a cell number. I can't remember it offhand. But 311, a COVID hotline number. Or go and download the app. The app, again, let me just get my page here, is kn.unhin.org. And that app, you put in your symptoms and our medical people come to you. So there are ways to deal with that. In relation to pricing at the market, I spoke about it on Sunday when I was here, that the Ministry and Department of Agriculture have reported that it appears that there's some price gouging that is happening, because they brought two products to our attention. One, cucumbers, which they say that they were selling at $1.50 per pound, and those same cucumbers were finding their way being sold for $4 per pound to the public. They said they were selling sweet potatoes at $3.50 per pound, and people were then reselling that at $8 per pound. And so we have appealed to our vendors. We know they need to make a living. We know they have their bills to pay as well. But we also know that we are all in this together. And we cannot be selling through the government marketing division at $3.50 and then you're demanding $8 a pound from the general public. We're asking people to be reasonable. And we have said that, and I don't know what in my mouth to say it, because everybody must eat. Everybody must eat, and there can be no justification for more than 100% markup on prices. If the vendors are not prepared to be reasonable, then the government will have to take action. But first, we are asking our vendors to be reasonable. And if you're getting cucumbers at $1.50 a pound, there's no good reason why you should be selling $4. If you're getting potatoes at $3.50 a pound, I don't see how you could justify selling at $8 a pound. The stall in the market, I'm told, is $10 or something like that per month. So you can't even say that that is the reason. The government really tries its best to keep prices at a reasonable level. And so we don't want to be forced to step in. And so we are first of all appealing to the best in our people. Be reasonable. Remember, every man and woman and child must eat, and we're all in this together. The government will do its part. The government has been doing its part, but we're asking our people out there as well to do their part. This is something where we are in it together, and we need each other if we're going to get through it. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, sir, you all are doing a good job, Premier. What I would like to ask is, MoneyGram would be open tomorrow? I would like to know, please.
MoneyGram should be open. My understanding is that they would fall under the category of financial institutions like the banks. So I would expect that they would be open. Of course, it would make sense for you to try and reach out to them and get in touch with them. But my understanding is that the banking institutions are considered to be essential services.
Thank you very much.
You have money to send, or are you receiving money?
Receiving.
Okay, that's the best way.
God bless you all.
God bless you too.
Bye.
All right, let's stick with the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Batley.
Good evening to you.
Yeah, what about the cable TV? They're open?
I expect that they should be. Again, it would be sensible to try and reach out to them, but I think that they should fall under the category. I think certainly for paying bills, my understanding is that they would normally have their cashier working.
Okay. And about the sweet potato, the things that the vendors are buying from you, if they can't hear, then you sell them yourself and let them suffer.
But you see, but I'm saying because we know the vendors have their family to support as well.
Yeah,
that is why we have made, wait, caller, listen to me. That is why we have made the appeal. We are appealing to people to do the right thing. But if people choose not to do the right thing, then we'll have to intervene. But the first step is to appeal to our people to do the right thing, remembering that all of us are in this thing together. All right? Okay, let's go back to the phones. It's 5 minutes past the hour. We're taking your calls at 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you want to be a part of the program tonight. For those who may just be tuning in, my name is Mark Brantley, and this is another edition of On the Mark. We are here every Wednesday at Vaughan Radio, the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, www.vonradio.com. And many are listening and now viewing as well, because we're streaming live on Facebook, Vaughan's Facebook page. And so hit us up with your questions, whatever comments you may have. If you feel that we're doing well, feel free to call in and say so. And if you feel that we're not doing well and we can do better, call in and say so as well, because with this thing, there is no playbook. I keep saying it. There's no manual. There's nothing that anybody has written that we can say, okay, this is what we need to follow. In many ways, we are forced to improvise as we go. And that is why people say, well, you did this and this didn't work. And we know, we understand that mistakes will be made. Nobody has dealt with this. And that is why sometimes when I hear the usual natural neighbors of extreme negativity, and they're out there and they're talking, you would think they have degrees in COVID-19. You would think they were professors and PhDs, doctorates in COVID-19. You wouldn't believe that nobody had heard of COVID-19 until last year, late last year, when China announced that they had had this new coronavirus in Wuhan. Some of them, they talk as if them have all the experience in the world. I'm saying, beware of those people. Because anybody who come and tell you they have the answers is perhaps telling you a lie. We are trying our very best, given the circumstances, to respond. And as I have said, I am very proud of the position that my political party, the party that I'm privileged to lead, the Concerned Citizens Movement, has taken, and a position that my government, that I'm privileged to lead, the Nevis Island administration, has taken, that our exclusive focus at this point is on the safety and security of the Nevisian people. We are not out there having no town hall, we're not out there having no rural and no rare. We are out there trying to help people. Give them accurate information, provide assistance with social services, provide assistance working with social security, provide assistance from our own pockets with food hampers and packages. We are out there seeking to ensure that our people are all right. And when the time comes, the big blue machine will roll out. Let us have no doubt about that. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yes, sir, good evening.
Good evening to you.
Two quick questions.
Yes.
One, if somebody is in zone 3 and they have a job that they have to do, they're actually in zone 4 and they have a job to do tomorrow, cleaning one of the buildings in town, can they go to work? The building is opening, yes. Can they go to work?
When you say the building is opening, meaning what? That they work at that building? They're part of the workforce at that building that you say is opening?
They would go in and clean up after they close.
So they're cleaner at the building?
Yes.
I think that what that person should do is speak to their superiors who work at that building, right, tomorrow, because it may be cleaners generally are part of the essential workers.
Okay.
But it may be that call and just make sure, because of a quick call to the police, just to make sure that they are allowed, would be the prudent thing to do.
Okay, that's one. Number 2.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in zone 4 and you, well, in my opinion, you have bills to pay, you can go to the bank and pay your bills and do your shopping all in one day, in my opinion. If you're in zone 4, that means you're not supposed to be moving from home tomorrow.
Yes.
You're supposed to try and get all of that done on Friday.
Yes.
Or can you come out tomorrow and get that part done and then you do your shopping on Friday?
No.
You can't come out
Tomorrow,
to do that.
stop home if you're in zone 4. Tomorrow it's for zone 3 to move around, and only for essential purposes. So my suggestion is that you'll have to allocate your time and say, well, all right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and you build out your time, right? So that you don't waste time while you're out. You will have between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. to do what you need to do.
Gotcha.
Most of the banks are going to be closed. I think they close at 12 anyway. So it might make sense for you to go and deal with your bills and things first before you deal with the supermarket, because that you'll have until 5 p.m. to deal with.
But that's the problem. That usually take like 5 hours with what's happening right now.
Well, we are hopeful. I've given some options for delivery. I've given options now, because one of the problems we had last week was that people were told what zone they were in, but as one lady called in, they were still breaking the zone. So you found that the lines were longer because people who shouldn't have been there were still there. So we are trying to enforce, to seek to make things better. Alternatively, if you're in zone 4, you can, well, certainly I don't know who you shop with, but if you shop with Best Buy, you can send them your list and they will deliver to you on Friday.
No, I prefer to pick up my stuff myself.
Well, okay. Well, if that is the case, then you'd have to go out and do what you need to do, but make a plan so that you know, well, okay, you move early and you do what you need to do, okay?
All right, good. Thanks, man.
Okay, brother. God bless, and we're in this together, so we just have to work it through. Let's go back to the phones. It is 11 minutes past the hour. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Premier.
Good evening, brother. How are you?
I am wonderful, and how are you doing, sir?
Well, good in the circumstances. You know, we are all working hard. We're trying to do the best we can in a very difficult situation. How are the good people of Gingerland working out?
Thank God we are doing well.
Okay.
And I think all of Nevis, we are doing well despite the circumstances.
Yes.
God is good, and I think that we are weathering this storm very, very well together. And of course, I want to commend you as usual for the stellar job that you're doing, and of course, the entire cabinet of the Nevis Island administration, and of course, the federal cabinet as well. I think we are handling this thing very well, and I think St. Kitts and Nevis is going to come out extremely well. I think we're going to come out well. But the main reason why I called tonight, Mr. Premier, I called in tonight to clarify something. I know when you were on radio on Sunday, you would have made mention of the contribution that is being made by SL Hospital and Company Limited.
Yes.
And I want to go on record as well to thank Hospital for this very timely gesture.
Tell us about it again, because some people may not have listened.
I'm going to speak about it, and I need to clear up something. I need to clarify something. So I called in specifically to speak about that. And as I said, I want to just say thank you very much to Hosfords, and in particular Mr. Oscar Walters and his team here on Nevis for this gesture. They have decided to give back because the people of Nevis have supported Hosfords well over the years, and that is why they have decided to give back in this tangible way. Now, you would have mentioned on Sunday, and the fact is that Hosfords is giving $10,000 worth of groceries.
Wow.
For relief from this pandemic. Now, let me make it absolutely clear that the $10,000 worth of groceries that hospital is giving through Value Mart is not for everybody, because $10,000 of groceries cannot suffice for everybody on the island of Nevis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Mr. Walters would have spoken to me as the Minister of Social Services. I have spoken to my people at Social Services, and they are working out the logistics as to who will be able to benefit. Because, of course, we know that there are some persons who are more in need than others.
Yes.
And so we have to try to deal with it the best possible way we can. I want to make it absolutely clear here that we, the members of cabinet, we the politicians, we are not saying who will get. We are leaving this to our technicians at Social Services. They are aware of who are the most in need, and apart from the list that they normally have, who they normally service, they would have been getting calls, and so they are making the determination as to who will benefit from this $10,000 worth of groceries. We are still working out the details, and persons will be able to benefit. I have to say that I am a little disappointed because, you know, we are in this period of crisis. We are in this period of lockdown. And there are many persons in St. Kitts and Nevis who think it best during this period of lockdown to just sit at home and just make up stories. I think we are living in the era of fake news.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, since we are in this lockdown, people are already distressed. People are already under pressure. And we are seeing so much fake news going around. Only yesterday, I was bombarded with calls and messages and so on saying they heard that the lockdown is extended to Saturday. I have to keep telling people, listen to the Prime Minister. Listen to the Prime Minister and stop listening to people's fake news. Because people are engulfed in this fake news and it is bad. Now, my good friend Oscar Walters would have called me because he has been bombarded with calls. And I want to make it clear here, please do not call Mr. Walters or anybody from Hosfords. It is being done through Social Services. Let me say that again. Please do not call Mr. Oscar Walters or anybody from Hosfords. It is being organized through the Department of Social Services. Now, Mr. Brantley, some irresponsible person who have time on their hands would have been sending around a fake bit of information today, and that is why I have to come on, because persons would have probably be getting this information and think that it is authentic. It is fake. I'm going to read the message that has been sent around today. And the message says, do you know anyone who was affected by this pandemic, who can benefit from a bag of groceries? Hospice is giving away $10,000 worth of groceries to individuals in need. And they have in brackets the elderly, self-employed, single parents, persons laid off, etc. The interested individuals can call 665-2501. So they've actually used social services number here. The interested persons can call this number for more information, and it goes on to say government employees need not apply since they are still getting paid. So somebody would have put this nicely worded message together and have been sending it around and have been fooling people, right? So I want to let people know, if you get this message is not authentic. It's not coming from social services. It's not coming from hospitals. It's not coming from any government agencies. And so this message is fake. Because what this message is trying to tell people, that everybody who has been affected by this pandemic will be able to get a bag of groceries from hospitals. That is absolutely false. Absolutely false. And because of the fact that this message has been circulating, people have been bombarded, the general manager of hospitals, with calls. As I said, we at social services will operate this. We'll determine who gets it, and it is being done by the technicians of social services, not by me as the minister. And so once we would have worked the details out, persons who will benefit will know, but I just want to make it absolutely clear that it is the technicians of social services who will determine, because a lot of persons are calling, and it's not everybody who call will be able to benefit either, because the persons from social services will have to do their little checks and so on, do their checks and balances, and they already have an idea as to who should benefit from this package. So once again, I really want to thank SL Hospice for this timely gesture, and thank you for giving back on behalf of persons who will benefit, on behalf of all of us here on Nevis. And once again, persons who will benefit, you will be notified, and then you'll be able to go to Hospice Value Mart to pick up your groceries. While I'm on the air, Mr. Premier, let me just remind the members of the general public that they can access our counseling services through the number 664-7269 or 665-9565. And those are the numbers you can call, you can WhatsApp.
Could you give us the numbers again, please, Minister?
The numbers for the counselors are 664-7269 or 665-9565. And as I've been saying all along, Mr. Premier, I mean, these are times, challenging times, unprecedented times, when some persons may need someone to talk to. Some person may not know how to deal with the situation. I recall, I think it was last week, a young man met me up at Market Shop, and he ran and he came to the vehicle and said, Mr. Evelyn, you all have to send around. People going to be going mad during this time. And I said, we are hoping that doesn't happen. You know, but he was convinced that people don't know how to deal with these challenging times, and you know they can be affected mentally. And so if you need someone to talk to, you need some counseling, please, and the counsel, of course, once you make a call, it will be confidential. Your information will not be put out in the public. Please rest assured that it will be confidential once you call any of our counselors. And as I said, these are unprecedented times, and persons may not know how to deal with the situation. And so we are there to provide that support for you in terms of our counselors. And of course, I just want to say once again that I commend, of course, all of the frontline persons in this fight against COVID, and I am convinced and I'm confident that we will win this battle.
Just before you go, Minister, in case you have it,
yes.
What would be the numbers for people to call at social services if they wanted some assistance?
Yes.
They wanted groceries, they wanted whatever assistance.
The numbers are 2501 or 664-9670. And before I leave as well, Mr. Premier, based on what I was saying, I just want to plead with the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, and wherever you are in this time of crisis, this is not the time. I want people to please desist from sending out fake news. Because as I said, people are already under pressure, and when you give them fake news, you give them false hope. That will not help the situation. This is a time when we should be working together. We should have compassion on each other, and by sending out fake news, you are compounding the problem. So I'm asking people, please desist from sending out fake news.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you for your comprehensive report, as usual.
No problem.
Really appreciate it. Someone sent me an interesting note, and I think that for the caller who called earlier, saying that they are wondering how they're going to pay their bills and buy groceries. And the suggestion was that since we expect that you're going to have another opportunity next week, Monday, that perhaps you can leave the bills until then. I don't think anybody's cutting off anybody at this stage, and so that might be a good suggestion. Caller, that you focus on the groceries and all that, and you leave the bills until Monday, when we expect that we would have a bit of a ease on Monday and Tuesday of next week as well. So you'll have another opportunity to go out and about and to deal with that. Based on what the Prime Minister said, the zoning will not be put in place next week. So the zoning is only for tomorrow and Friday, and then next week, Monday, we hope that we'll be able to relax that so that everybody would be able to move around with, of course, the necessary restrictions as to staying at home unless you have to go, and if you'd go, wearing a mask and maintaining the necessary social distancing. Let's go back to the phones. We have somebody holding. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Okay, that person isn't there. Hello?
Hi, good evening.
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead.
I was calling to find out about the bread van for tomorrow. If you're gonna get bread, tell mine done.
Well, bakeries have always been part of the food supply that is exempted. So I would imagine the bread van should be moving and the bakery should be open.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're most welcome. All right, let's stick with the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Premier Brantley, good night, sir. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm good. Are you, Deputy Premier?
I am doing well. I can't complain, but, you know, the circumstances that we are facing are challenging one. You know, it's a challenging one. But we have to find the resolve to face it and face it head on. I want to say good night as well to all of the persons who are listening to On the Mark this evening. And it's always a pleasure to engage and to bring the information to the general public here and abroad. As I heard the caller prior to me speak about bread, I'm just tuning in, so to speak, over the last 10 minutes. Listen to Minister Evelyn just a while ago, and I said I'll call in.
Yes.
Because, of course, sometime last week you'd have alluded to the fact that we are getting some contribution, donation, or some help from the Amory Bakery in St. Kitts. That's Ernest Amory and his bakery. And I want to thank him and his entire staff for you know, bringing the initiative that they would have had in St. Kitts last week, where they would have provided bread to all of the household in St. Kitts.
Yes.
He has decided to do the same thing over here on Nevis. So I believe it's 10,000 bread he will be sending to Nevis over the next couple of days. Why I'm calling tonight is because over the last couple of days as well, we've been collecting boxes to send over to Mr. Amory so that he can have those bread sent back to us. This afternoon, he did indicate that he'll have some of the bread sent tomorrow. I'm not certain about the time as yet, but we're hoping it may be before midday. And then some more will come on Friday. Based on what we were thinking about, Premier Brantley, we're thinking that tomorrow, as St. Thomas, St. James, and St. Paul's, Zone 3 will be out and about doing their shopping and taking care of various essentials. Whatever bread comes over tomorrow, we would want to start the distribution in St. John's and St. George's. Now, persons should be at home because they should be within the confines of their premises.
Yes.
So I believe that is the way to start tomorrow, so that we can get persons who are at home will be fortunate to receive their bread tomorrow. I'm hoping we'll have enough sent in the first tranche to give everyone in St. John's and St. George's. So that is what I'm saying tonight.
I think you mean everyone or every household?
Well, thanks for the clarification.
Yes.
Every household.
Yes.
And let me say as well, persons should not ask for no more than one or ask for any additional amount. We are trying to give, and I believe it's 3 loaves. I believe it's 3. We'll clarify that tomorrow when the packages come. But whatever comes, they are coming packaged already. So we're giving them out accordingly.
So you're giving 1 package per household?
Per household.
Okay.
And that is the clarification that I needed, and thanks for that.
All right.
But it is an initiative that I believe we should all be thankful for. And once again, I want to publicly thank Mr. Ernest Amory and his business place, Amory Bakery. Even though they don't do much or any business in Nevis,
yes,
they have decided to be a good Samaritan and make sure in these times everybody can get some bread to consume. And we're just encouraging all of their business places out there to reciprocate this initiative, do likewise, so that all of us can have something, whether it's food, whether it's bread, whatever it is. The government itself is doing its part. But of course, the private sector or anyone in the private sector who wants to make a contribution should do so. Because in good times, all of us try to patronize every business out there. So in difficult times, we certainly will welcome those businesses playing their part to ensure that the people of Nevis are in good standing. Mr. Brantley, I want to commend you for your effort as the leader of the island of Nevis. As the Premier, you have demonstrated good leadership in that you have engaged the general public on a regular basis. No one can say that you have been absent, because I'm sure those who follow you on Facebook know you're there. You have been on the radio. You're there tonight as well. And every time you go on the radio, it brings some comfort to the people of Nevis. And people are seeking information, and you've been providing that. And I want to say to you that previous premiers would have had to deal with circumstances of hurricanes. In 2008, there was the financial crisis that was dealt with then. This is a situation that has never been dealt with by any other premier in the island of Nevis, going back to 1983 to now. So I want to say to you that you have dealt with hurricanes before, not really as the leader, but of course we've had our situations to deal with back in 2017 when we had 2 major storms. That was just prior to you becoming the premier. But of course you were in the cabinet at that point in time. But this particular pandemic is one that has never been dealt with before by any other leader. So you're learning on the job, so to speak, in terms of dealing with these crisis situations. And I do believe that what happens from here on will define you as a leader of the island of Nevis. And those out there who may have a different opinion, well, they'll express it, of course. And it's their right to do. But I want to say to you that you have a great team around you, a team that is willing to work diligently to ensure that all of us, including you as the leader, can see us through these difficult times. And I give that assurance, and all of the cabinet members, I'm sure, will say likewise. So let us continue to press on. And the challenges are there, but listen, Nevisians on a whole are tough people. We are tough and resilient people, and I do believe that all of the challenges that we see before us, that we know we'll have to face, we can face them head on and ensure that we come out on the other side in a much better position. But it won't be easy, and I want to bring that to the Nevisian public, that it will not be easy. But of course, the way we face these challenges will determine what we become hereafter. So I want to commend you in advance, and I want to say that you have our full support, and the Nevisian public will continue to support you, because of course, you're the leader, and indeed, once you're leading, persons should get on board and just understand that these are new circumstances. I remember back in 2017, I said that the Category 5 hurricanes that we faced at that time, we are facing what I would have called then the new normal or the new norm. Hurricanes, we were not seeing Category 5 hurricanes as regularly, or even if we did, maybe once before. And now I'm looking at the situation that we're facing, and I call it the not so normal situation. So we have to find creative ways of dealing with it. So we'll find those ways, and we'll find a way to get through all this. So you have my support, and you have the support of the entire cabinet, and of course the entire Division Public, Premier Brantley, and I wish you well.
Well, thank you very much, and clearly I couldn't be doing any of what I'm doing without your support and the support of the cabinet. And I was saying earlier that perhaps before you joined the show, that we have really been doing a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes. I have been sort of the person out front, I suppose, in my role as Premier, but all of us have been doing work. I mean, you, for example, have been dealing with this bread issue, and I want to join you in thanking Mr. Ernest Amry. I believe that Mr. Amry's generosity has to be recognized because, as you pointed out, he doesn't have a bakery on Nevis. Yeah. And it would have been, I think, easy for him to say, well, I don't do business on Nevis, so let me focus on giving back to people who buy from me. But he has extended his generosity to the island of Nevis in an unprecedented way. Sure. And if we're getting 10,000 loaves of bread coming over here to be given to people for free, I think that he ought to be publicly commended and lauded for that generosity. And I join you in saying to others that they too should seek to do what they can. Not everybody is in a position to do the same, sure, but people should seek to do what they can. And I know you are out in the community dealing with people who are disadvantaged and less able. I know, the other ministers have been out doing what they can. I was able to call Minister Brand recently and say to him that, there were some constituents who needed some help, and he responded right away. So we have been doing, and we will continue to do, because I think that is what we are in this together. When I say we're in it together, I mean the cabinet, the government, the premier, the deputy premier, the public, everybody, even the public servants. And let me take a moment to recognize them. Yeah. We have a group here with the permanent secretaries. They have been working very hard. We have the COVID task force. We don't recognize, and I said it earlier, these people are working is 2 shifts, 24 hours per day. Yes. The EOC is being manned. And so I spoke to one of them who said that she hasn't even been spending any time with her children because she, as part of the team, is over at the EOC. So we have to recognize that people are contributing.
And there are tremendous sacrifices being made too, because one can always sit back in a corner and say, no, that's not for me, let somebody else do it. But once persons come forward and are willing to give up their time and their effort and their energy to this cause, I believe they must be commended. And anyone can fall into that mode in terms of coming forward to contribute. Yep. So people just need to put up their hand and say they're ready. Someone called me on Sunday and said that he wanted to offer some equipment to help with agriculture, and he called me immediately after. I forgot his name. I think his name is Marlon. But I gave him the number to the permanent secretary, so of course they may have, had some discussions as to what can be done. So persons just need to figure out a way how they can, in their small way, figure out a way how they can contribute. And nothing is too large, nothing is too small. Little is much. Good. So I'm asking Nevisians to let us rally around the cause and let us rally for the island of Nevis, because this island needs us all at this point in time.
Good. Yeah? Well said, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. Have a good night.
All right, good. God bless. 25 minutes to the hour of 10 o'clock. We're taking your calls. This is Mark Brantley, and I'm the host tonight of On the Mark, Straight Talk Across the Narrows. We're discussing COVID-19. We're discussing the Prime Minister's address, the new regulations that we anticipate will come after the sitting of Parliament on Friday. And we are trying, of course, to give some assurances to the public as to what we're doing, while continuing to encourage our public to be responsible and to be disciplined. Because only if you are responsible and disciplined will we come out ahead of this thing, and quickly. And I want to come out quickly. I want Nevis to get back to normal, and I'm sure you want it too. But to do that, we have to continue to be disciplined and responsible. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you.
First of all, let me just say that I want to commend you for coming on and clarifying. Yes, we get the updates. It's a lot of information. Sometimes it's overwhelming at times. And so, yes, sometimes we're left with a lot of questions. And so for you to come behind and clarify for us is tremendous help. These are unprecedented times, as you've said. They're also very frightening because we're left with a lot of questions as to where we go from here. We all should have recognized by now that life is no longer going to be the life that we knew it as it was. Things are going to change. And so, you know, we, and I'm including myself, just need to work with a lot of patience. Sometimes we don't have a whole lot of that with each other because each and every one of us deal with situations differently. We're scared. We don't know. We don't know. There's nothing worse than when you don't know. That's the biggest fear. And so I just want to appeal to everyone to let's work on ourselves with being patient with each other. Mr. Brantley, you just spoke about Ernest Amory. Oh, happens to be a relative of mine.
Oh, good. Okay.
But I'm not surprised. If I'm not mistaken, his dad is from Nevis. His heritage is from here in Nevis. And over the years, Nevisians have bought a whole lot, even though Amory's Bakery is not in Nevis. I, for one, whenever I go to St. Kitts, I end up at Amory's Bakery buying the buns and the breads and whatever they have there to bring back, just like we all go to KFC. And so I, too, would like to thank him so much for thinking of Nevis, even though he's not in Nevis. But I think Ernest recognized that Nevisians have, you know, put into his business over the years, and it's tremendous in giving back. There's so much, like I said, right now that we can do, and we know that we can do it, but sometimes the information and everything that's going on is so overwhelming that things get past us. And so we just want to encourage each other to do the little bit that we can do to make life easier and better for all of us in so many different ways. I mean, when I look, Mr. Brantley, I know you know New York City very well, and when I look at Michigan, Detroit was my home for 20-something years, and when I look at pictures of what I see in the hospital in Detroit, these are places that are near and dear to me. My heart, I mean, I cry. I have to admit, I cry, and I've cried so many times watching the news because it's not just us, it's worldwide. It's all over the world. And sometimes when we're going through things, we think we're in the boat alone by ourselves, but it's all over the world. We have family members, we have friends, my sister tells me about the different funerals she's had to go to because she's lost people from her church. My other sister, Colleen, is an administrator at a hospital in Chicago, and what she's been dealing with is, oh my goodness, overwhelming to say the least. And so, it's just a tough time, and Nevisians, I think, have done quite well. We have been lucky. We haven't had any deaths. Everybody continue to hold each other up and reach out. And, this is the one time when I would say give a hug, but we know we can't do that anymore, and that is so strange. Thank you so much for coming on at these extra special times besides Wednesday night to help us understand and regurgitate and accept the information that's being given to us and help us to work through it mentally to understand what is truly happening. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Thank you, and thank you for your call. Just to say that as we all look to do what we can, I am a firm believer in people doing what they're able to do. Some of us may have a little money, so we can go out and buy groceries and give to people. Some of us may not be able to do that, but we have time. And since in this era of social distancing we can't go and visit somebody, we could call them up. We can check. One of the things that I have been doing every day, I try to call up people that I know and say, how are you doing? How's the family doing? And to me, that is just part of our humanity, to try to reach out to people. And I'm happy when people tell me they're doing well and things are going well. But there are others, when you call, they say, I'm so grateful you've called because I'm having this problem or that problem. So if you know of someone, particularly those who are on their own, maybe have no children, those who are living on their own, the elderly, sometimes just a 10 minutes or 15 minutes on the phone, cheering somebody up might be worth even more than you being able to give them $100. So the reality is that all of us have the capacity in us to do something. If we have a little extra at home, I saw my good cousin, I hope she don't mind me calling her name, Nana, the other day, put up something on Facebook, said she was going through her cupboards and she found some food, some tin foods, canned foods, and she wanted to know if somebody might need them. She put that on Facebook, you know, could you contact me privately if you know somebody who could use something? And so all of us have the capacity. Mr. Amri, Ernest Amri, is doing something big, and he has the capacity to do something big. But others can, it might be a kind word. All of us must now become, and I talked about the lessons of COVID. Food security is something we must learn, but also how to be each other's keeper, our brother's keeper, our sister's helper. Nevis used to be like that. Nevis used to be the place where you pass something over the fence to your neighbor. That used to be the norm. I recall growing up in Brownhill, I had a little garden. I always loved agriculture, and I had a little garden, used to produce peppers especially. That was my favorite. Sometimes a few onions. And once I was producing onions and peppers, nobody in the immediate neighborhood wanted for those things because they always got a portion. Mr. Luther Williams, I don't know if he's listening. I passed by him the other day for his birthday. We used to buy fish, but you would buy a pound, he give you a pound. You know, that kind of thing where he always was handing something over. Vicky, see 2 shellfish here for you. And this kind of thing, you know. Christine Spring, it was on the other side. She always had something to hand over to us. We hand over something to her. Maisie Bartlett was below. That is the way we lived. You know, the Vera and Elmo, I can't call her that now, Her Honor, our Deputy Governor General, or above, you know, Blanche Nisbet. You know, this was the way. This was the way. Hyacinth, Bobsy, everybody in that neighborhood lived in a particular way where you looked out for each other. And I think as we started to get more affluent on the island, people started to work, make money, go to New York for Labor Day, lime and things like that, buy expensive thing, build big house. We sort of started to become more individualistic. We started to lose that empathy for each other. And I believe that this thing is teaching us, yeah? Come back to basics. Your family, your community, loving each other, taking care of each other, being there for each other, all of those things. And that is to me why I keep saying that I have no time for the party politics right now. Because there are bigger lessons that are being taught to us. And if we do not heed those lessons, I believe we are going to perish with all the suffering that COVID-19 has brought, with all the death and destruction, mash up our economy. All the projections we had from budgets said this year is going to be a great year, gone through the wind. But in all that, I believe there's a silver lining, and that silver lining is to remind us of our humanity. So you may not have money, you may not have extra groceries, but you might be able to call somebody with a kind word. And I believe that all of us have the capacity to look out for each other. Let me go back to the phones again. 10:15 o'clock. We're taking your calls at 869-469-1616 and 1700. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Hi, Mark. Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Hey, how are you doing?
I am fine, thank you.
Oh, yes. I mean, the struggle continue. But before I continue, just some clarity in reference to the ending of the curfew. I think you said 5 o'clock. Is not that's not supposed to be 6 o'clock?
Well, my note said 5 a.m. The curfew goes from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. If you have different information, I'll stand corrected. But that is the note that I took. So
yeah, I think
it's 6 a.m.
I think it should be 6. a.m.
Well, I'm guided if that is the case. The original was, I know, from 7 p.m. to 5.
When we started first, it used to be from 5 until 7, and then it went from 6 until 7. I think this one's supposed to be tomorrow from 6, also on Friday and next week.
From 6 p.m.?
From 6 a.m. until 7 p.m.
No, but that's not the curfew. The curfew starts at night.
Yeah, and end at 6 a.m.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. 5 a.m.
So the curfew starts at 7 p.m. and ends at 6 a.m.
Yes, yeah, that's the information I have.
Okay, well, I will have to double check that, as I said, but either way, we understand that tomorrow, Thursday, from 6 a.m., say then, until 7 p.m., people will be allowed to move about in the zone 3 in Nevis. I think in St. Kitts that will be the east zone.
Right.
They will be allowed to move about.
Yeah, zone 1, and we say zone 1, zone 2, and in Nevis, zone 3,
and
zone 4.
So zone 1 in St. Kitts and zone 3 in Nevis will be allowed to move tomorrow. The rest of the country remains locked down. And then on Friday, zone 2 in St. Kitts and zone 4 in Nevis will be allowed to move. The rest of the country remains locked down. And then the curfew will continue from 7 p.m. tomorrow
Friday
until 6 a.m. Friday, and then 7 p.m. Friday until Monday of next week at 6 a.m. That's important.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
And, it's just imagine, Mark, we started off the new year, which really looking forward to have an excellent year in the Federation in many ways. As you had 4 seasons, I mean, in terms of the bookings, other hotels, I mean, the private sector, the public sector. I mean, we were really looking for a bumper year. I know you were looking forward in terms of the carnival, the cricket, an outstanding music festival last year, and oh boy, just today being the 106 days in the year, we are fighting this war. This war, imagine our airports are closed.
Never before in our history.
Pardon?
Never before in our history.
Never before our history. Imagine only just about one hotel in this country which have guests. One hotel, right? But unfortunately, Mark, this hotel will not contribute to the economy, no revenue, because it is all monkeys that are over in Carl Hotel, and you know they're having a wonderful time even in the pool.
They're in the pool, you say?
In the pool. I mean, the monkey, them looking so cool. So when you see them swimming, they're having a ball because no one around, and they see it fit to go on the people premises to enjoy themselves from roof to balcony to the ground to the pool to the grass. Man, they're having a blast.
So the monkeys is swimming in pool, is St. Kitts monkey?
Why
Now what is this? I thought them had to be some tourists, man. They couldn't be St. Kitts. I mean, you know, I thought is the monkey come from somewhere, tourist monkey. I can't believe it's local monkey.
Well, you know they're going anywhere and everywhere. Anywhere and everywhere, you know. But a little humor is always very important.
Yes.
Because laughter, which is very, very healthy for your body, and this is something that we all encourage people to do right now, to laugh and to socialize. When I said socialize, meaning at your home in a responsible way, but with physical distance. You can talk to your children, they're over there. To your partner, he's over there. To your neighbor, they're not clustering and gathering. This is not time for that. As you keep mentioning the word, which is supposed to be a word that people should have on our agenda, which is to be responsible. To be responsible. And this is why you mention in reference to the zone tomorrow. people who are not supposed to be in that zone. You mean to tell me that anybody's supposed to keep repeating that if you're not part of 3, you should not wait until the turn for 4? This is what, I mean, we're talking about being responsible. Imagine we have something that just about 2 million people in the world being infected with over 120 deaths. Never in my life, Mark, I imagine seeing the Prime Minister of my country, the leader of any country, the citizens of my country wearing masks in my country. I can't imagine that. But that is the reality that we have to face. But you know, a situation, Mark, which is unfortunate because the majority of the people who are irresponsible, they do not listen to the shows. They will not be listening to your program. And I also have to commend you because with such a hectic schedule, you have not refused to come to the public. You're here tonight. You now decide to come back on Sunday, which is not a normal service. But this is why it's something called time and timing. Unfortunately, in America, which is the most powerful nation, there is no leader. Fortunately, in the nation, for the last 5 years, we have been properly led. And this is why we are in a position financially, economically, to make tremendous amount of decisions that can benefit the majority of the people. No government can please all the people all the time. But what is most important is to please most of the people most of the time. And you should be commended for your leadership. I am not, to be honest, interested in no opposition right now. This serious war that we are facing has nothing to do with politics. Nobody welcomed this war into our country, but it is here. And this is the time when any citizen, whether you're in the opposition, should put politics aside. Nobody in opposition should be talking like how they are talking right now. They are campaigning using, imagine an unfortunate position where people in this country have been infected. It could have been them, it could have been their family, it could have been anybody. And this is not the time. This is something that I take seriously, and anybody should take seriously, especially as leaders, you know. And this is just a serious, unfortunate position. We will have our time for the politics, because I am was confident in the last election that the government would have changed. I am more confident that the government will remain, so I am not worrying about that.
Okay.
What is most important right now is to save lives and to secure our nation, our country, and our people. And I am happy, I am proud, I am pleased, and I endorse your leadership and ask you to continue to give your best to your people, to your country, and to your nation. And I will ask the Lord, knowing that we have just about 46 more days before the beginning of the hurricane season in 2020, I will ask him to pour his blessings on our nation in terms of the water, but to keep the wind away, to keep the heavy storm away, and to continue to bless our proud nation, to bless our government, and to bless the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Okay. All right, brother. Thank you very much for your contribution. All right.
Okay.
We have another call. Let me take this call quickly. Good evening. You're on the mark. Hello?
Good night. How are you doing, Honorable Evelyn?
This is Mark Brantley.
Yeah, Honorable Premier. Good night. How are you doing, Premier?
I'm not too bad, thanks. We're coming to the end, so could you go ahead and make your point quickly?
I will make it plain only, please. I'd like to say give thanks for life, and I'd like to say with the aspect what we are seeing going forward in this fight that we are engaging, as I said, to a virus that is solved in our region and in the world. We like to say it's time now we emphasize factual healthy living with natural ability of food that contain its alkaloid and chlorophyll, because we won't make those references on our daily healthy living and put much emphasis in exercise that deal with reading to exercise too, because these are the factors that are able to cope this fight that we are seeing, because we're seeing that there is no vaccine that are available to come out against this virus. So why is it that we say we are seeing an enemy without even knowing that the enemy? So here is it, the hypocrisy pursuing upon our people because of the capitalist system that is engaging in its economical power again. So we say, let us unite as African people and really rally to reward our people as equal rights and justice. You all have a statement, Mr.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, this final caller. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Yes, this person who called concerning the monkeys in the hotels and so on, they made reference that is in St. Kitts that's happening?
That's what he suggested.
No, they must look at the face of the monkey and the tail of the monkey. We don't have them kind of monkeys in St. Kitts. Monkeys in St. Kitts are black face.
So that's a foreign monkey?
Those are foreign things. That is another place.
All right, brother.
I think it's, so let them look at the monkey properly.
All right. You see, I thought it was a tourist monkey. You know, I said so from the... Okay, that's our light moment.
Monkey to our monkey.
All right, okay. Listen, I have been sent some voice notes here. I don't know how to play them on here. If I play them here, they would come to the mic. Let me see if I can do this. Apparently, they're from the supermarkets.
The Nevis Division of the St. Kitts Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce, in collaboration with the Nevis EOC Task Force for COVID-19, presents updates on shopping.
So I'm trying.
Best Buy supermarkets in Nevis will be open from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Senior citizens can shop from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. For delivery service, for those of you who would like to send in your shopping list, you can place your orders at emailing nevors@costpro.com, or you can WhatsApp your orders to 667-2378. Value Mart will be open from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Senior citizens will have priority, however, they would need to identify themselves with the security at the door. Dong Fang Supermarket, locally known as the Chinese Supermarket, will be open from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Senior citizens and essential workers will be accommodated all throughout the day. However, they would need to identify themselves with the security at the door. Ram Supermarket and Cash and Carry Nevis will be open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Seniors will be accommodated between 8 and 10 a.m. Regular shoppers between 8 and 3 p.m. and essential workers between 3 and 5 p.m. There will be a cashier dedicated to persons with 10 items or less, senior citizens and essential workers. For those who would like to shop online, Rams will be partnering with a company called Caribgo, and you can WhatsApp your shopping list to 662-5558, or you can email to caribgo@caribjack.com.
Okay, I got those voice notes. It played pretty well. I didn't think I could get through, but that was just an update on the different supermarkets. And that brings us to the end of our show. It is 10 o'clock, and thank one and all for calling in. I should be back, God willing, on Sunday as we start that new program starting at 4 until 5:30. Again, I emphasize that that program is only during this period of COVID. We encourage one and all as you go out tomorrow. Just a reminder, tomorrow in Nevis, it is Zone 3. St. Paul, St. Thomas, and St. James who can go out and shop. If you don't have anything to go out for, stay home. While Zone 3 is out, Zone 4 must stay at home. So the people of St. John's and St. George must stay at home. Tomorrow is not your turn. Friday is your turn. St. John's and St. George can go out to shop, and then the people of St. Paul's, St. Thomas's, and St. James must stay at home. Friday night, 7 p.m., we go back into 24-hour lockdown until Monday, when we'll have some relief again. Friday, we'll have an emergency sitting of the Parliament so that we can ensure that we are constitutionally proper with the continued state of emergency. That's our show for tonight. I want to thank all who called, who shared their views, and this program is rebroadcast tomorrow at 1 p.m. That's our show. Good night, and God bless you and keep you safe. Stay at home. Thank you.
The views and opinions